Welcome back to my 2025 NFL Power Rankings series. Today we are talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that is going to have to compete with some other very nice teams this year. Just in their division, we got a Chargers team that is very tough, going to play some nice football throughout the year, very physical team. Then we also have the Denver Broncos, a defensive-minded but very effective team. And then the Chiefs, who just made it to the past 3 Super Bowls. That's just in their division. So why is it that people are hyping up a team that just won 4 games last year to potentially make the playoffs? Well, it all starts with the head coach that they added. Pete Carroll is going to elevate this team. He's a player's coach, and the players will fight for him. They did it in Seattle. Everyone knows that Pete Carroll can control a locker room and really get guys to rally behind him. He also brought in one of his favorite players to coach, a quarterback from his later years with Seattle, Geno Smith. He's truly one of the game-changing quarterbacks in the NFL, and I feel like people undermine that because it is Geno Smith, someone that struggled early in his career, but once he won that starting job with the Seahawks, everything seemed to change. His ability to make plays in spite of pressure makes him a superb quarterback that can guarantee an effective passing game with potential to really light up the scoreboard. The only issue with him is that he can make some bad decisions. It's something that we saw last year. He's willing to make some risky throws, and I fear that at times it's less of a, oh wow, he's a gunslinger, look at how aggressive he is, and more of a, what the hell are you doing? There's no world where that play right there works. But last year he was a one-man show, and I think we got to give him credit for that because Seattle was weak on the offensive line. They did not have a running game, really. They had good running backs, but they didn't really have an established, reliable ground game. And Ryan Grubb, as the offensive coordinator, did not do a good job really helping Geno out. He tried to make this a one-man show. He pretty much put the entire pressure of the offense on Geno Smith's back. But do the Raiders have more to help Geno Smith this year? Well, he has an effective route runner in Jakobi Meyers, who's coming off his first 1,000-yard season. He has a speedy deep threat in Trey Tucker, a reliable possession guy, a rookie, Jack Beck, and an insanely consistent and talented tight end in Brock Bowers. Bowers may just be the best tight end in the NFL, okay? Everything from his athleticism to his nuance as a route runner. He's going to be the go-to guy for this passing attack. The ground game is also going to be exceptional because they just added a new running back, Ashton Jeanty, and he is the highest drafted running back since Saquon Barkley. He was a freak of nature from the change of direction to the contact balance. Jeanty completely dominated in college, and his early draft position was completely warranted. Now, I get it. He's coming from Boise State, which is a non-Power 5 school. The defensive talent he's going to be playing against in the NFL is going to be a lot better. So the learning curve from college to the pros is going to be a little bit bigger for the guy. But the talent is clearly there. And the film speaks for itself. Ashton Jeanty, a truly generational running back. Then we look at the offensive side of the ball. And I can't be as positive, but it's definitely not some awful unit. I mean, how could it be awful when you look on that defensive line? You have Max Crosby, who is one of the NFL's true defensive stars. When you look up grit in the dictionary, it's just a picture of this guy. I mean, he's a ferocious edge rusher who sets the edge insanely well and then gets to the quarterback. He's probably the highest motored player in the NFL too. The wheels just do not stop turning with this guy. And then they have Christian Wilkins on the inside, who is a remarkable run stuffer, a true big body that just does not get moved off of the line of scrimmage. Then they have Malcolm Kuntz to really complement those guys as another edge rusher. He's someone that will reliably get the job done. They have a little bit more depth in that area, but those are the three big names that I want to talk about. Then we look at the second level, and it gets a little bit worse, right? Landon Roberts and Devin White, they're guys who defend the run well, but they are not going to contribute much against the pass. Okay, they are not good coverage guys at all. And there is some concern there because there are a lot of teams that want to threaten you over the middle, and these guys are not going to do too much as pass coverage players. Landon Roberts is a great downhill run-stuffing linebacker, but he doesn't have the lateral mobility to really be a great pass coverage guy. Teams are going to exploit that. But I'm more worried about the secondary because it gets even worse. Okay? Jacorian Bennett, Eric Stokes, and Darnay Holmes. That is an objectively bad trio of corners. There are some nice young names on the bench. DeCamerion Richardson and Darian Porter can establish themselves, especially Porter, who was one of my crushes of the draft. But if the three is really going to be Bennett, Stokes, and Holmes, they will not be very impressive in terms of their play from the secondary. The safety room doesn't get much better either. I like Jeremy Chin. I think he's a nice, strong safety, but the free safety position needs some addressing. Luckily, their defensive coordinator is Patrick Graham, who's going to run a lot of zone coverage and take a lot of pressure off of those guys in the secondary and allow the defensive front to win the game for him. The softer coverage that we're going to see from Patrick Graham gives the secondary a lot more room for error. So even if they are mediocre players or subpar players, they'll still be fine because you beat zone coverage and one of the players do a bad job in the flat, okay, it's just a 5-yard gain. Meanwhile, if it was more man coverage heavy, then, oh no, Jacorian Bennett's our cornerback one, we're going to get torched for a 70-yard play this way. With zone, it's a lot more, oh no, Jacorian Bennett messed up. It's fine though, it's just a 5-yard gain. Our defense is going to make the tackle right after. And they are going to be more of that bend, don't break type of team. And if you do try and hit that big chunk play, that's when Max Crosby is really going to get you. And they have faith that guys like Crosby and Wilkins are going to get you behind the chains, force you to be a little bit more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, and then they're going to try and win that way. They might allow a lot of field goals throughout the season. They're going to let you get in the red zone, but I think they'll hold up when they get there. That's very clearly what this defense is built to do, a true bend, don't break unit. I think they have an offense that could complement that and allow this team to look pretty good. Pete Carroll and the boys, how do we expect that to translate to their record? Let's look at the schedule and find out. For the Raiders, the formula for success is simple. Force the opposing team to run the football. The more the opposing team runs the football, the better you're going to feel. Because I think the Raiders can score at their own pace. If they want to slow down the game, they can. If they want to speed it up, they could do that too. Because Geno Smith is such a great playmaking quarterback, but also because of how good Ashton Jeanty in the run game should be behind that offensive line, they have versatility in that way. However, opposing offenses can really push the tempo because this secondary isn't very good. So teams that are great throwing the football are going to give them some problems. Teams that want to run the ball more and come with more of a balanced approach, those are going to be the teams that struggle. And that's going to be because Max Crosby and Malcolm Koonce and Christian Wilkins and Landon Roberts, all those guys are very good run defenders, right? It also helps that Patrick Graham is running this scheme that's supposed to limit the big play. However, I still have the Patriots beating them because the Patriots, I think, will be able to pass the ball decently well. I also think this is going to be week 1 of the Carroll era. And because of that, while it is also week 1 of the Vrabel era for the Patriots, I think the Patriots being the home team, the Raiders being a team going on the road with a new head coach, I just feel like that's a Patriot win. I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm going to take the Patriots in that one. But then, week 2 is exactly what I'm talking about. I think the Chargers are a better team, but I think the Chargers only know one way of playing offense, and that is running the football. They have a very good quarterback in Justin Herbert, but they're not trying to throw the football much. And when they do, it is going to be basic concepts that are going to be beat by cover 3. And the simple but well-refined concepts that the Raiders are going to be running coverage-wise on the back end, Greg Roman isn't creative. He's not going to have creative ways to stop cover 3 and stop Tampa 2 and the simple, soft zone coverages that Patrick Graham is going to draw up. And he isn't going to have this elaborate short passing game that takes advantage of guys like Elandon Roberts being out there. And it's not like the Chargers have a very talented receiver core that'll be able to beat the Raiders, DBs. I'm taking the Raiders in that one. I'm taking the Raiders. And if the Chargers weren't playing the Raiders later off of a bye week, I would take the Raiders in both matchups. I would. Then week 3, the Commanders, this is going to be a more pass-happy team. They are going to expose Jacorian Bennett and all of those guys in the secondary. I think that is a Washington win for sure. But then we face off against Chicago. I think this is a game where we're going to see Geno Smith do a decent amount. I think we're going to see that run game get going. I think the Bears might be able to score a decent amount. They definitely will. But I think that the Raiders will also be able to score a fair share. They're the home team, and because of that, I'm giving it to the Raiders. I have them winning 3 straight because the Colts want to run the football really bad, and the Titans just aren't an overly great team. The Titans are going to be playing on the road in Las Vegas. I'm going to take the Raiders to win at home right there. This is going to be a nice 3-win stretch, but then the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I'm sorry. The Chiefs are going to have different ways to beat you. I don't love Chip Kelly. I don't think he's some elaborate offensive coordinator, and I think you face Spagnuolo against Chip Kelly. Spagnuolo wins that matchup every single time. Now, can you potentially catch the Chiefs off guard? Maybe, but I don't think this is going to be one of those upset games right here. So I'm taking the Chiefs to win that one. Then off of the bye, I have the Jaguars upsetting the Raiders. The Jaguars are also coming off a bye. This is just going to be very simply the Raiders being caught off guard. It's also very important to keep in mind, Pete Carroll has lost off of, I want to say, his last 4 bye weeks. I think coming into this year, the last 4 seasons where Pete Carroll has been a head coach, his team lost off of the bye. So I'm picking that to happen right here. Now, the Raiders against the Broncos, I think the Raiders are going to win this one. They're going to make the Broncos into a more one-dimensional offense by restricting that rushing attack. Can Bo Nix pick them apart over the middle? Absolutely. But I'm going to have the Raiders winning this one in a game where I don't think the Broncos defense is going to have the tremendous success you're going to be used to seeing from them right here. I think it's going to be a little bit of an off day for Denver, so I'm picking the Raiders in that one. Then I have the Raiders beating the Cowboys. Raiders are going to be fighting strong. The Cowboys, with their head coach, I think it's a very different story. I don't really know if they're bought into that head coach. Meanwhile, I know that the Raiders are bought into theirs. Then I have them getting upset by Cleveland. Very simply just being upset. I think they might be a little bit cocky looking at this Chargers game coming up and looking at the rest of their schedule. You know, you're facing off against Philly, Denver, Houston. Like, you got to lock in for that. I think they're going to be so focused on this upcoming stretch around week 14, 15, 16 that they kind of just get caught off guard in week 12. Then I have a close game between the Chargers and the Raiders. But I have the Chargers winning it because they're coming off the bye week. They're going to have different ways to rely on Justin Herbert and draw up a play or two to really take advantage of a simplistic scheme defensively for the Raiders. Now, week 14, I have the Raiders winning once again, keeping the Broncos in a more one-dimensional attack, same as last time, and this time it's going to be in Las Vegas. Eagles are just a very, very talented team. I don't think they're going to upset them here. I think that the Raiders might have some talent, but the Eagles are so well-rounded they can attack you in so many different ways. If you have a couple weaknesses, like the fact this Raiders receiver core isn't anything spectacular, like the fact that that secondary is very exposable, I think A.J. Brown goes off for like 150 yards right here, maybe even 200. I think that's very possible here. Then the Texans also beat you because they're another well-rounded team. They're going to attack that secondary, and they're going to attack the other weaknesses on this team. You're weak in the linebacker room? Okay, we're going to pick you apart over the middle. Oh, wait, you're also weak in the secondary? Okay, Nico Collins is going to have a field day on you. Then I think Malik Neighbors and the Giants, they're going to go ahead, get an upset win right here. And by now, it might seem like playoff hopes are dead because they kind of are at this point. I have the AFC being a little bit too competitive for you to go ahead and win the division at a I think they would be at 7 wins right now. Yes, 7 wins at this moment. So I think they're kind of eliminated from playoffs. If not, it's unlikely chance. But I still think Pete Carroll is going to have them locked in for next season and take them off with a victory against the Chiefs. And not to mention the Chiefs would also maybe not be playing for much right now, so they probably have their backups in. But yeah, that's all for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want more of my content, subscribe, check out the channel. I'll see you next time.